Oh, I hope you're as excited as I am because it is Friday edition of the panel, Friday edition of the show on this October 4th. On the panel this morning, a gentleman, deputy mayor of this city, and a gentleman who came into the studio this morning with a full-on, is it a boot? What is it called for your broken ankle?
It's an air cast. It's broken foot.
Broken foot.
Broken foot.
Broken
You
foot.
get it skateboarding?
It's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It's exactly what happened at City Hall, actually.
You know,
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
I don't know.
Down the halls?
I was doing that in the halls for a shoot, and we weren't supposed to, but later on in the old port,
Sterling. You
Yeah.
must be, you heard it from me, okay? You told me you heard it from your doctor.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks, it's like, okay, again with this, right? People telling you about the skateboarding, huh?
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's everyone's go-to because they're right. They know me really well. But yeah, it's 37 years, never broken a bone, and then
Boom.
doing nothing epic and broken foot.
You evidently weren't wearing your steel-toed boots.
I
That's
wasn't.
right.
I wasn't. I'm luck, but I was juggling knives while skateboarding, so that was impressive.
Sterling, you are a man of danger. I appreciate you waddling in here, as you put it. Okay, Trudie Mason also on the panel.
Morning.
Hi, Trudie. Morning. Okay, you know what? Let's start talking about enforcement of the rules. Peter Sergakis is raising a stink because, his new restaurant out there on Saint Jacques, Le Manoir, the old Picasso site. So, I'm happy about that location being open. But the inspectors came in and they said that his kitchen staff need to have steel-toed footwear because of the risk of a knife falling and, stabbing them. And he's like, are you kidding me? Because I would imagine it's going to be very costly to outfit an entire kitchen staff. The turnover in restaurants is probably really high, and it's not exactly an expense you want. And also, really, is that the biggest danger in a kitchen? Like, I think
Especially in that area of the city? No.
yeah.
It's not the kitchen stuff I'm worried about in the knives.
But so, is this like agreed? Are you on Peter Sergakis' side in this one? I know, he's a controversial figure at times, and he's never met a regulation he likes. But I'm on his side on this one because it seems like a little bit too much.
Well, I think the proof is the fact that this is a highly unusual requirement for a restaurant. The Worker Health and Safety Board decides on a case by case, and the Restaurant Association says you almost never hear of this happening, and they don't want it to happen for the same reasons because there's a high turnover and a high cost. But I was just before airtime researching because my son worked fast food for a short period of time,
Like Andrew
last
Scheer
summer.
insurance level?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we had to buy him non-slip footwear because of the greasy floors in kitchens.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, well, if they, if there's that rule, I assume some of them come with steel toes. But the solution actually is if the Worker Health and Safety Board wants to stand on this, what Sergakis should buy are the steel caps that go over any shoes. So you're
A little bit cheaper.
Yeah, they're like $40 instead of whatever, a pair of steel-toed shoes. And the owner of the restaurant retains ownership of them, so the employees don't take them with them when
That's
they
a
leave.
stinky business.
It goes on the outside of the shoe.
Oh, okay.
The outside of the shoe, not the inside of the shoe.
Our intrepid Catherine Wood from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center tells us that her son works at a fast food chain and was required to purchase them to work at the fast food chain.
It's
So
funny.
I guess it's not.
It's
that
funny
out of
because in the
norm.
1990s, in the early 1990s, when I graduated high school, I was a butcher I worked at Provigo, and I was racking my head when I saw this morning. I was like, worked in the back, and same thing. So we had anti-slip shoes, or we had to have something anti-slip. But I used to wear skate shoes, ironically. I didn't break my ankle there or my foot, but we worked with knives, obviously, and we had to wear chainmail gloves when we were working, and there's certain precautions. You had to wear a chainmail vest in case you slipped on the grease and you by accident maybe hooked yourself with a knife or something next to the table. But I can't remember for the life of me, and I don't believe, from what I remember, we weren't required to wear steel-toe boots. And butchers are working with knives all the time. Yeah. That's all we're doing. We're working in grease. We're working in a whole bunch of things. And for the life of me, I don't remember us having to do it. Now, this is the 90s. Things change. But I don't know. I can't recall an accident. I mean, I nicked a finger in a slicer once. I mean, there's fingers and hands are in a kitchen. I can see something going. But
Pam's in Laval and texts us that she's currently shopping for steel toe footwear for staff, and Walmart has sneakers with steel toes for less than $50. It's also for drop stuff, not just a stabbing.
Yeah, well, we bought a pair of those for my son this summer because he got a job doing landscaping and he had to have those for landscaping. I understand, the Worker Health and Safety Board is looking out for the workers. I understand that, and sometimes employers aren't thrilled about the cost of it. But I think, if it's not common for all restaurants, what's different about Le Manoir?
Yeah.
You would wonder, is it Peter Sergakis that they got to stink with some way, or why is it not a rule in every restaurant, like a CSST rule, not just an owner imposed rule.
And that's the thing. If it's as serious as this inspector with the CST is saying, it should be a rule. It shouldn't just be pick or choose what location it happens.
Well, it's this little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy lost his toe at the restaurant.
Andrew Poplawski was teasing me on Live at 5 this morning because we were talking about this story, and I told him that when my husband bought me this beautiful set of gorgeous knives, kitchen knives, like one of those high end, like each knife is $100 or something. So he gave this to me as a gift, and the set came with a training video by this company, by a professional chef who demonstrates proper cutting technique to protect your hands and stuff. I'm sure, Sterling, you know all about that stuff. But one of the things that this trainer also said in this video is if you drop a knife, you never try to catch it. You never try to like jam up against it to stop. He said you jump back from the counter to protect your body, and you get your feet out of the way and your legs. That's what you're supposed to do. So are all kitchen workers trained like that? That if you drop it, you jump back?
This is
that's a good point.
This is a real issue here. This is a text from Mary. I own a restaurant, and the CSST did an inspection. Had to buy all the cooks steel-toed shoes. Spent over $1,000, and 2 months later, 3 cooks left with their shoes in the South Shore. I mean, come on, how hard, it's already tough enough to find staff at these places, and it's tough enough, to own any type of business. I don't know.
Something like that, if they buy them, maybe they should be able to reclaim it on their insurance or something.
Yeah. All right. Finding solutions to problems is, it's not easy finding solutions to problems. And I take you to Lucien-Lallier station and the washroom that's at Lucien-Lallier. If you're an EXO commuter, if you take the commuter rail lines, you probably know there's a bathroom there. Our metro system, by the way, or public transit, not a lot of bathrooms in the metro system. It's hard to find public washrooms. But at Lucien-Lallier station, there is a washroom. But over the summer, the station, which is owned by CP, Canadian Pacific, had enough of, finding needles in the bathroom and, the maintenance in the bathroom, and was just finding a situation they thought it was untenable. So they told EXO they need to put a system in place where, you have control over who's going in these bathrooms. So the system that was brought into place is you need to register in order to use this bathroom that, just before the summer, you could just walk into, was a public washroom. So now you need to go to a website, fill out a form. By the way, the form's only available in French. And then it takes 5 business days for your Opus card to be registered. And then you can swipe into the bathroom with the Opus card. I guess, does that seem as crazy to you as it does to me?
I actually don't think it's all that crazy when you consider that the very definite alternative is no bathroom at all. And I think that's what the station, when the actual proprietor of that venue would eventually decide, because public bathrooms are a gigantic headache. Crimes occur in them, prostitution, drug use. In some cases, people become afraid to go into them because of all the other stuff that's going on. So I have a feeling that if the this card in system fails, the thing will simply be closed off. The train people are pointing out there are some bathrooms, I think, on 2/3 of the train. So if you really need a bathroom, there's one available. You feel for people who have medical problems that make access to a bathroom essential. But I think having to wait the 5 days and register is a small price to pay to keep the thing open, because it's not going to stay open, in my view, as a fully open public bathroom.
I don't disagree with anything that Trudie's saying. I mean, I think there should be time constraints on public washrooms. I think you get in and get out, get in and get out, get in and get out. You know, you can't spend an hour in there.
But how do you regulate that?
No, I'm joking. Yeah, exactly.
Inspectors.
Inspectors, yes. Excuse me, please leave the washroom now. You have oversaid. No, the idea of the Opus card is interesting. Like, I mean, the 5 days to register, and I agree with Trudie. What's interesting about the Opus card, too, is because there are, levels of crime and there are issues with toilets. Yeah, as much as I'm against tracking people and kind of, doing that, it gives a way also to know who was in at a certain time, possibly. I don't know if that's what if they can track that.
1,600 people have registered and now have access to the bathroom, so it's it's not like it's difficult or onerous. It just seems ridiculous. You got to wait 5 days if you need to go pee.
And I think the issue is we need more public washrooms.
Yes,
for sure. Obviously, like we're saying, but I think Trudie makes a really good point. Is that comes with a whole slew of issues. I'll use a simple example. In Verdun, we have a lot of parks, and what we've done is, since we don't have enough park chalets, and there's a whole issue with that, and cutbacks in money and chalets being closed, we have a lot of Johnny on the spots.
Yeah.
And along the riverfront, a Johnny on the spot,
no, it's not nice.
Not so nice. Vandalism, other issues. Sometimes they're overfilled. They're not cleaned properly. But
I was playing softball in Point St. Charles this summer. And, we on my team always took the third base side dugout. Yeah. Big mistake, because the porta potties are right there, and they had not. And we literally could not stay in our dugout the entire game because we were choking because it smelled so bad. So
somebody else was in their dugout.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but
we need more public washrooms.
We need it.
I think we do, but I think we need the new design, like the ones the city has started having, that they self clean.
Yep.
They've got some semblance of security to prevent them from being misused and stuff, but they're big. Those things are big.
Have they been a success, Sterling? Do you know?
They seem to function well. We haven't got. I haven't heard anything negative. I mean, I remember the first time I encountered those things when I was in Europe. I think it was in either England or France when I first saw those, and I was amazed by them. They work really well. The ones in Montreal, I've used them a couple of times. They work really well, and I mean, they seem to answer. The only thing is, it comes with the constraint that you have this large thing that's installed, and I mean, it can denaturalize an area depending on where they're put, so they have to be careful. But I mean, it's a I don't want to say it's a fundamental right, but it's what's the word I'm looking for?
But
it's a need. Like, I mean, you can't
for a lot of people. It's a need.
As a father of a 19-month-old child, I mean, it's nice to have that. As my son gets older, I can only imagine if you have a child and you're traveling with a child and your child needs to use the washroom, can't.
Would you take your child by the hand and have them step over the addict with the needle in his arm standing?
Definitely not. No, definitely not.
I mean,
No. Well, that's exactly it, and it's managing all those issues without profiling, without refusing other people, making sure that they're universally accessible. That's a whole other thing too, right? Are they universally accessible? Can somebody with mobility issues access them? So there's a lot of issues I think that need to be addressed with that. But I think we're moving in the right direction. We're talking about it.
We need to talk about Andrew Scheer's absolutely terrible week. He has had a rough week. I just saw the Journal de Québec editorial cartoon, which was showing Andrew Scheer speaking on a TV, and it was an older gentleman and his dog, both lights out sleeping, and the people that were walking into the room saying, "Oh, I think he's in a coma," like someone watching Andrew Scheer, right? And he's had these like sort of mini scandals to bigger issues. By the way, after our panel yesterday, where I took, and you and I, Trudie, we had a little bit of a disagreement over whether he should admit his personal convictions on the whole abortion debate. Well, what does he do at around 10:30? He said, "Yeah, I was right. I was right, Elias. Came out.
People of your thinking immediately weaponized it against him.
No, I think
I predicted.
I think on social media you can see a whole bunch of stuff, but I think for most people it's good to get out there. But his week has been terrible, and now you got this story of him having dual citizenship with the United States, and this is a guy that I hate it because every politician, Sterling, how many Projet Montréal councillors have vehicles, have cars, but I mean everyone's a hypocrite in certain senses. But this is a guy that has used to a former governor general, Michaëlle Jean. She had dual citizenship with France, and he took aim at her, and now you find out this guy is running for prime minister and he's got the dual citizenship. He hasn't really. I'm going to do something about it now.
It's the whole stone in the glass house thing, right? I think that's what I hate about, and I'll be completely honest, that's what I hate about politics to some degree is, again, there's, there's no way to not contradict yourself at a certain point. Like, I mean, or, you know, or your party's platform or a thing. I mean, every person is an individual. I think he's had a really bad week. I mean, I've watched some of the stuff. I mean, it's not disappointing because, you know, I won't, you know, my political convictions are what they are. I keep them to myself, but it's politics in general right now is just disappointing for me. What I see what's going on in the US, what I see what's going on here. It's like, can we stick to the issues, hopefully, and, you know, elect people, or at least give people a chance to debate and to run, because we have to elect a leader. We're going to have to elect a leader. And all of these distractions and all of these things, which are important to talk about, but at the same time, are they more important than the big issues that are going to govern our country? And that's what I worry about, right? But it speaks to a person's character if they're not being transparent. Like, I've always fancied myself a very extremely transparent person. I own whatever is a part of me or my life, and that's important because then you can move on, or you can evolve, and you can change the way you think and then change the way you do things. But he's definitely having a bad week, and
to an extent that in Quebec, all of his hopes of getting seats in Quebec could be gone by thanks to this week. I don't know if it plays the same way in Western Canada, of course, but in Quebec, this has been a brutal week for him.
There's definitely been other candidates who are rising. I mean, Jagmeet is gaining ground. You know, it's Trudeau's kind of, I think, staying.
Yeah, but you know, in Quebec, someone who's leaning conservative isn't going to go to the NDP, but they might go to the Bloc.
Yep.
This has been a good week for the Bloc Québécois in this province.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say next. Yeah.
Well, I think Scheer says that he started the process for renouncing his American citizenship after he became the leader of the party, which put him into prime ministerial territory, and that's exactly in line with my thinking on the question, and the same thing that I said against my now wonderful colleague, Thomas Mulcair, when Thomas Mulcair was trying to become the Prime Minister of Canada. I said, listen, you want to become PM, I need to know that you don't have divided loyalties, and you show me that by having just one citizenship. So I said the same thing about Thomas Mulcair as I will say about Scheer. I don't think you should be able to become Prime Minister of Canada with dual citizenship. And he says he had a meeting with U.S. officials after he became leader of his party to begin the process. If that's true, I think he did the right thing. And I don't think he should be shamed for that. Because the people...
Well, I think he should be shamed for, like, in the past, going after people with dual citizenship when at the same time, like, now listen, I also have dual citizenship, but I would get rid of it if I was going for that position.
Who
the
was
Governor General.
Yeah, the Governor General, who is the Commander-in-Chief of our armed forces, should not have dual citizenship, and she gave it up, as she should have. Stéphane Dion, leader of the Liberal Party. Thomas Mulcair, leader of the NDP, both aspirational prime ministers.
I agree with you on that.
So as soon as he put himself in that position, he started the process before people asked him.
But you don't think that's a little bit sneaky if you're going to attack other people and you don't reference, like, hey, by the way, I also have dual citizenship, but I would give it up if I was running for that. He didn't mention it. It's like, he never mentioned it. You know, and looking at this whole CV thing, then you just it was like, okay, is this really a thing? And then you see all these videos of him talking about his insurance experience, and it sort of adds up like, boy, that sounds a little phony. And I get it. Listen, it goes to this terrible week he's having. Now, I don't know what's worse, 2 countries or 2 planes that the Liberals have. I don't know what's worse, but to me, this has been a deal breaker week for the Conservatives in Quebec.
It also goes to show that I think that we, the media, have not been asking the right questions, because apparently the question you should ask at anyone pointing a finger is, oh yeah? And how many planes do you fly? Do you have dual citizenship? You know, obviously the media didn't do they just took whatever statement he made at the time about whichever leader he was attacking and took it for granted that he wasn't in the same position. This is the wake-up call for us, Elias, as well as maybe for voters.
I think we're just following, what stories are broken over the course of the campaign.
But that's dangerous, right? In an election, like we were saying, people have to get informed, and there has to be the right information. We have to talk about the big issues and ask the right questions, like Trudie's saying. If everyone should be asked the same question at that point. I mean, it's, if you're all under scrutiny for the same thing and you're all running for the same position, then all the same rules should apply to each and every individual.
There's Monday morning we'll be 2 weeks away from this election.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. So we're just past the halfway mark in this campaign. Do you think that, do you think this campaign, like I look at this campaign and I say this is like the worst campaign I've ever seen?
I just think politics is becoming more and more. I like this to the whole Trump thing, right? Like I think that politics has become like a reality show rather than we've gone away from the main issues. Now it's more about the individuals, and it's scandals. It's this. It's that.
I don't know. I think it's always been a bit of that. I don't think what's happening in the U.S. is just outlier. I feel like in a like outlier bonkers.
When real politics like supersedes House of Cards. Yeah. That's a scary thing.
You know what? I got to blame it on social media.
Yep.
Because there's always been a certain element of gotcha material. Although, what's that expression? This is the first campaign I've ever heard that expression about the organizations within parties that gather dirt on opponents. What's that name that we started?
Oppo Research?
I think it's Oppo Research.
Yeah.
I never heard that before, and that seems to be what this campaign is all about. And it's fueled by social media because the parties know they can whip up a huge controversy with a few well-placed tweets. That's all it takes.
Well, in politics, we always say that, right? Perception is more powerful than the truth.
Both the Oppo Research firms that I hired to look into you, Trudie, have come back with nothing so far. Just so you're pretty good. Okay, guys, thanks for the panel. Sterling, Downey, Trudie Mason, you guys are great.